New reporting from the Wall Street Journal has revealed that 5 members of the House Judiciary Antitrust Subcommittee are considering recommending Jeff Bezos to the DOJ for criminal prosecution over suspicions he perjured himself during sworn testimony given between 2019 and 2020. In a letter written to current Amazon CEO Andy Jassy, the bipartisan group asked for exculpatory evidence corroborating the testimony of company executives, including then CEO Bezos, given to the subcommittee about Amazon's use of data from third-party sellers.
The co-signers of the letter are a bipartisan group that's Representatives David Cicilline of Rhode Island, Ken Buck of Colorado, Pramila Jayapal of Washington State, Jerry Nadler of New York, and Matt Gaetz of Florida. Here to discuss is great friend of the show and author of Goliath, the 100-Year War Between Monopoly Power and Democracy, and the Big Substack. The Substack is called Big. Recently went paid. People should check it out. It is worth contributing to. He's trying to monopolize the anti-monopoly space. Welcome back to Rising, Matt.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And so let me see if I have Jeff Bezos' defense right here. So he and his allies testified before Congress that they were not, in fact, using the data that they're able to cobble together as a result of their monopoly over selling things over the internet and using that data to produce off-label products and then underselling their competitors. They said they are not doing that. But in fact, if they are doing that, and it turns out they are doing that, those employees are breaking their rules. Is that essentially what their defense is going to be? And if not, what is it? If so, could that stand up in court?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So there's 2 allegations. One is they use private seller data from third parties to make their own copycat products. And Nate Sutton, who is a VP of policy for Amazon, denied that they do this. And there was evidence that they did. So Jeff Bezos, when he testified, he also denied it and said what you said, which is that that employees went rogue and they're doing an investigation. Now, recently, Reuters did a story on how this is routine in India and the Indian Amazon subsidiary. And then The Marker did a story on how Amazon, in their own search engine, rigs it so that Amazon private label copycat products show up first, even if they're worse rated than the products that they ripped off. And Amazon, in written testimony, said that they don't rig their search engine. So what this letter says is, hey, explain what's going on. Give us exculpatory evidence showing that you did not commit perjury. And I presumably, the documents that Reuters and the markup referred to, and then also, investigative results and whatnot. And, it seems pretty obvious that they were lying. I don't know if it's not particularly common to take people to court for perjuring themselves before Congress. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Right. Well, there'd be members of Congress who would have to take themselves to court for doing so.
Well, I think they're protected from lying, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But they also did it the witnesses did it under oath too. I mean, that's the other part of this is that this isn't,
But they have to go after Bezos this way, right? Because, while it might be, unethical, or they might be being dishonest about their practices, it wouldn't be. You can answer this question. It's not illegal, is it, for Amazon to prioritize its own products in the interface, the search engine that it controls and owns, right?
Well, like many things in antitrust law, it depends. And these things haven't been tested in court because it takes, $5 million, $10 million to bring a case, and the case lasts for 7 years. So right now, it's sort of an open question about whether what's called self-preferencing is an antitrust violation or not. And there is legislation that would say, yeah, this actually is an antitrust violation. And that's getting bipartisan support in the Senate. But as with all antitrust, it's a poorly administered area of law that takes way too long. So it's pretty hard to tell what's illegal.
And that's legislation right? So that would need to be approved and then would not retroactively apply to conduct that Amazon engaged in up through now.
Yeah, that's right. It's sort of clarified legislation. So the antitrust laws presumably would prohibit some forms of self-preferencing. This legislation would make that more explicit. So the courts, if you brought a case on this under existing law, you might win. If this legislation passes, you have a better chance of winning.
So what kind of self-preferencing is already obviously black and white illegal? Like if a grocery store chain or Walmart, used its data to understand what products were selling, then it made off-label products to compete with those, and then undercut it, and then put all those products, hid them in the very back of the store so that people, behind a big orange curtain, would that already be banned?
Well, so one way to think about it is that if they were to basically put products that cost more or were had worse quality, and then hid the other better branded products, then that might be a violation, because you could say, oh well, they're charging more to the consumers, because the antitrust law, a lot of it has to do with consumer price. So Amazon could say, well, self-preferencing is fine because we're offering, better products and services for a cheaper price. And so what if the third party gets screwed in the process? It's good for consumers. But if they were to just be charging more for worse quality products and hiding the alternatives, you'd have a better chance of winning a self-preferencing case.
Yeah. Matt, thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
We'll have more Rising right after this. Stick with us.